The sun dipped low over the rolling hills of Montana, painting the vast meadows in hues of gold and amber. Emily Harper leaned against the weathered wooden doorframe of her family's old ranch house, the one her grandfather had built with his own hands back in the 1950s. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of wildflowers and fresh hay from the fields beyond. She adjusted the thin strap of her cream-colored sundress, the fabric clinging softly to her skin in the warm evening breeze. At 28, Emily had returned to this quiet corner of the United States after years of chasing dreams in the bustling chaos of New York City. The city had been a whirlwind of ambition and heartbreak, but here, in Big Sky Country, she felt the weight of the world lift from her shoulders. She gazed out at the horizon, where the mountains stood like silent guardians. The ranch had been in her family for generations, but it was falling apart, fences sagging, the barn roof leaking, and the cattle herd dwindling. Her father had passed 2 years ago, leaving the place to her and her older brother, Jake, who had no interest in ranch life. He was a lawyer in Seattle, living in a high-rise with a view of Puget Sound. Emily, though, had always felt a pull toward this land. It was in her blood, in the stories her grandmother told of horseback rides at dawn and barn dances under the stars. Tonight, she wasn't thinking about the ranch's troubles. She was waiting for someone. The crunch of gravel under tires broke the silence, and a dusty black pickup truck rolled up the long driveway. Her heart skipped a beat. Out stepped Caleb Monroe, tall and broad-shouldered, his dark hair tousled from the wind, a faint stubble lining his jaw. He wore a faded flannel shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal tan forearms, and a pair of worn jeans that fit just right. Caleb was the foreman of the neighboring ranch, the Double Bar, and he'd been a fixture in Emily's life since they were kids racing horses across the fields. "Evenin', Em," he called, his voice deep and warm, carrying that slight Montana drawl. He tipped his cowboy hat, a grin tugging at his lips. "Thought you might need some company out here all alone." Emily smiled, pushing a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. "I'm never alone with all these memories," she said, but her eyes sparkled with something more. Caleb had been her first crush, her first kiss under the bleachers at a high school football game in Bozeman. They'd drifted apart when she left for college, but now, with her back in Montana, the old sparks were reigniting. He climbed the porch steps, his boots thudding softly against the wood. "Brought you something," he said, pulling a small bundle wrapped in brown paper from behind his back. "Fresh honey from the hives at the Double Bar. Ma said you used to love it on biscuits." Emily took the bundle, her fingers brushing his. "You remembered," she murmured, unwrapping it to reveal a jar of golden honey, glistening in the fading light. "Your mom still keeps bees." "More than ever," Caleb said, leaning against the railing. "Says it keeps her young. You should come by sometime. See the operation." "I'd like that." She set the honey on the porch swing and turned to face him fully. The sundress hugged her curves, and she felt his gaze linger for a moment before meeting her eyes again. "Caleb, why'd you really come out here tonight?" He chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Can't a guy just check on an old friend? You could have called. Phones don't do justice to a sunset like this." He gestured toward the sky, now streaked with pink and purple. "Or to you standin' there lookin' like you belong on a postcard." Emily laughed, a sound that felt foreign after months of city stress. "Smooth talker. You haven't changed. Some things don't need to." He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell the faint cedar of his cologne mixed with the earthiness of the ranch. I heard about the bank. Jake called me, asked if I knew anyone who could help with the ranch. Said you're thinkin' of sellin'." Her smile faded. The bank had been hounding her for months. The ranch was mortgaged to the hilt, and without a major influx of cash, she'd lose it by the end of the year. "I don't want to sell," she said quietly. "This place is all I have left of Dad. Of Grandma. But I don't know how to save it." Caleb's eyes softened. "You don't have to do it alone. The Double Bar's doin' all right. We could partner up. Combine herds, share equipment. My dad's been talkin' about expandin' into organic beef. Your land's perfect for it." Emily shook her head. "I can't ask you to take that on. It's too much. You're not askin'. I'm offerin'." He reached out, his hand resting lightly on her arm. "This land's part of who we are, Em. Both of us. I don't want to see it carved up into subdivisions for city folks who don't know a steer from a stallion." She looked into his eyes, seeing the sincerity there. Caleb had always been steady, grounded in a way she'd never managed to be. Let me think about it, she said finally. It's a big step. Take all the time you need. He didn't move his hand, and neither did she. The air between them crackled with unspoken possibilities. They stood there as the stars began to prick the darkening sky, the chorus of crickets filling the silence. Emily felt a pull toward him, a desire to close the distance that years and miles had put between them. But before she could act on it, headlights flashed in the distance. Another vehicle was coming up the drive. Who's that? Caleb asked, his brow furrowing. Emily squinted. I don't know. I wasn't expecting anyone. The car was a sleek silver sedan, out of place among the pickup trucks and dusty roads of rural Montana. It pulled to a stop, and out stepped a man in a tailored suit, his polished shoes crunching on the gravel. He was in his early 30s, with slicked back hair and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Emily Harper, he called, his voice carrying a faint East Coast accent. Who's askin'? Caleb said, stepping slightly in front of her. The man raised his hands in a placating gesture. Name's Victor Lang, Lang Development Group. I'm here about the ranch. Emily's stomach tightened. I'm not selling. Victor's smile widened. Hear me out. We're prepared to offer $3 million for the property. Cash. You could pay off the bank and have plenty left to start over anywhere you want. $3 million. Emily echoed, stunned. It was more than she'd dared to hope for, enough to clear the debts and give her a fresh start. But the thought of the ranch, her family's legacy, being bulldozed for condos or a resort made her chest ache. Caleb's jaw tightened. She said she's not selling. You can turn around and head back to wherever you came from. Victor ignored him, pulling a folder from his briefcase. Miss Harper, I know the bank's breathing down your neck. This offer won't be on the table forever. Think about it. You could be free of this burden. He gestured dismissively at the ranch house, the sagging porch, the fields beyond. It's not a burden, Emily snapped. It's my home. Victor shrugged. Sentiment's nice, but it doesn't pay the bills. I'll be in town for a few days. Here's my card. He handed it to her, then climbed back into his car and drove off, leaving a cloud of dust in his wake. Emily stared at the card, her hands trembling. Caleb took it from her gently and tore it in half. You don't need that, he said. You've got options. You've got me. She looked up at him, tears pricking her eyes. What if I can't save it, Caleb? What if I lose everything? You won't, he said fiercely. Not if we do this together. The next few days were a blur. Emily and Caleb spent hours poring over the ranch's books, brainstorming ways to turn things around. They met with a local agricultural consultant in Bozeman, who confirmed that transitioning to organic beef could be lucrative, especially with the growing demand in urban markets. The Double Bar's reputation would help, and Emily's land had the perfect soil and water access. But Victor Lang wasn't giving up. He showed up at the ranch again, this time with a slick presentation on his tablet, renderings of luxury cabins, a golf course, a spa. This could put your little town on the map, he told her over coffee at the local diner. Jobs, tourism, money flowing in. You'd be a hero. Emily listened, but her heart wasn't in it. She saw Caleb across the diner, talking to the ranch hands, his laughter filling the room. She saw the way the locals greeted her, asking about her dad's old stories, sharing memories of her grandmother's pies. This was her community, her home. That night, she and Caleb rode out to the far pasture on horseback, the moon casting a silver glow over the land. They dismounted near a creek, letting the horses graze. Emily sat on a flat rock, her sundress pooling around her, and Caleb joined her, his shoulder brushing hers. I'm not selling, she said firmly. I'm going to fight for this place. Caleb grinned. That's my girl. She turned to him, her breath catching. Your girl. Always have been, he said softly, his hand cupping her cheek. Just took you a while to come back to me. This time, she didn't hesitate. She leaned in, her lips meeting his in a kiss that felt like coming home. The world faded away. The bank, Victor Lang, the weight of the ranch's future. There was just the two of them, the Montana sky above, and the promise of a new beginning. Over the next months, Emily and Caleb worked tirelessly. They secured a loan to cover the immediate debts, using the Double Bar as collateral. They started the transition to organic beef, with Caleb teaching Emily the ropes of herd management. The community rallied around them. Neighbors offered help with fencing, the local co-op provided discounted feed, and even Jake sent a check from Seattle, grumbling about hippie cows, but proud of his sister. Victor Lang's offers grew more aggressive, then desperate, then stopped altogether. Word was, Lang Development had moved on to easier targets. The ranch began to turn a profit, small at first, but steady. Emily hired a few local kids to help with chores, and the old house got a fresh coat of paint. One evening, as the sun set over the hills, Emily stood on the porch again, Caleb's arm around her waist. The ranch was alive, cattle grazing, the barn repaired, wildflowers blooming in the fields. She wore the same sundress, now a symbol of the day everything changed. "We did it," she whispered. "We're just getting started," Caleb said, kissing her temple. And under the vast Montana sky, Emily knew she was exactly where she was meant to be.